Dad, perfect events. Dad, you're looking pale. Let me check your blood sugar. My daughter Diana said this while secretly preparing to inject me with double the insulin dose. I'm Victor Hayes, 58 years old, and I almost died before discovering my own child was slowly murdering me for my retirement money. But let me back up 6 months to when this nightmare really began. I was standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning in March, watching my wife Margaret make coffee like she had every morning for 32 years. She was humming something, I can't remember what song now, and measuring out the grounds with that precise way she did everything. Margaret was 56, still beautiful, still the woman I'd fallen in love with when I was 26, and thought I knew everything about life. She turned to say something to me, smiled that smile that had gotten me through 3 decades of marriage, 2 job changes, and raising our daughter, Diana. Then her face went blank. The coffee scoop dropped from her hand, ceramic shattering, across our kitchen floor. Margaret, she collapsed before I could catch her, just crumpled like someone had cut her strings. I called 911, tried CPR like they taught us in the electrical contractor's safety course, but I knew. You know when someone's gone. The paramedics confirmed it 20 minutes later. Massive heart attack. She was gone before she hit the floor. They say it was quick, that she didn't suffer. That's supposed to be comforting, but it's not. Quick doesn't help when you're suddenly alone in a house that echoes with 32 years of shared memories. I'd been an electrical contractor for 35 years before I retired 3 years ago. Started right out of high school, worked my way up from apprentice to running my own crew, then my own small company. Good work, honest work. Made enough to buy our house in Portland, save for retirement, give Diana every advantage we could afford. The back injury that forced my retirement at 55 wasn't fun, but we'd planned for it. Between my savings, Margaret's teacher pension, and Social Security when I hit 62, we were set. Now Margaret was gone, and I was rattling around our house like a marble in a coffee can. That's when Diana stepped in. Diana had always been Margaret's project. Not that I didn't love my daughter, I did fiercely, but Margaret was the one who handled the emotional stuff, the relationship management, the family dynamics. I was the provider, the fixer, the guy who made sure the bills were paid and the house didn't fall down. After the funeral, Diana transformed overnight from the somewhat distant daughter who called twice a month into the most attentive child in the world. She started coming by twice a week, bringing groceries, cleaning the house, organizing my medications. Dad, you can't just eat cereal for dinner, she'd say, unpacking bags of healthy food I never bought. Mom would have my head if she knew I was letting you live on Frosted Flakes. She was right. Margaret had been the cook, the meal planner, the one who made sure I ate vegetables and took my vitamins. Without her, I was existing on whatever was easiest. Sandwiches, canned soup. Yes, sometimes cereal for dinner. Diana also took charge of something I'd been dreading, my diabetes management. I'd been diagnosed 2 years earlier, type 2, manageable with insulin injections and diet control. Margaret had learned everything about it, helped me track blood sugar levels, reminded me about injection times, made sure I didn't skip doses. I've been researching diabetes management online, Diana told me one evening, pulling out a notebook filled with her careful handwriting. Did you know that stress can affect your blood sugar levels? You need to be extra careful now, with Mom gone. She was right about that too. The grief was affecting everything, my sleep, my appetite, my energy levels. My blood sugar readings were all over the place. Why don't I start preparing your insulin injections? Diana suggested. That way, you don't have to worry about getting the dosage wrong. I'll come by every few days, set up your weekly supply. It seemed thoughtful. Hell, it was thoughtful. My daughter stepping up to help her old man when he needed it most. Margaret would have been proud. Diana also started helping with my finances. After 32 years of marriage, Margaret had handled most of our money management. She paid bills, balanced accounts, dealt with banks and investment companies. I knew the big picture, how much we had, where it was invested. But the day-to-day details had been her domain. Dad, some of these financial companies have been calling, Diana said during one of her visits. Something about updating account information. Why don't I help you switch everything to online banking? It'll be easier for you to keep track of. Again, it seemed reasonable. I'd been putting off dealing with financial stuff, partly because I didn't understand all of Margaret's systems, partly because it hurt too much to sit at her desk, and go through her careful records. Diana walked me through setting up online accounts, showed me how to check balances on my phone, helped me organize automatic bill payments. She even suggested I give her power of attorney, just in case you need help with anything complicated. I signed the papers she brought over, my daughter, helping her grieving father navigate the complexities of modern banking. What could be wrong with that? For 3 months, this arrangement worked perfectly. Diana visited regularly, made sure I was eating properly, taking my medication, staying connected to the world instead of disappearing into grief. She handled financial questions when they came up, dealt with paperwork I didn't understand, even helped me start thinking about what to do with Margaret's belongings. I was grateful, more than grateful. I was dependent on her help, and I knew it. For the first time in my adult life, I couldn't handle basic life management on my own. My daughter had become my lifeline. Then I opened my monthly bank statement in June and saw that $350,000 was missing from my retirement account. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Had to be. Banks make errors all the time, especially with online systems I still didn't fully understand. But the numbers were clear. 3 large withdrawals over 3 months. $50,000 in January, $75,000 in February, $225,000 in March. The timing was wrong, though. Margaret had died in March, but these transfers went back to January. Someone had been moving my money around for months. I called the bank immediately. After 20 minutes on hold and 2 transfers to different departments, I reached a customer service representative who could actually access my account. "Sir, these transfers were authorized through your power of attorney," she explained. "Diana Hayes initiated these transfers to Hayes Investment Holdings on your behalf. I never opened any account called Hayes Investment Holdings." Silence. On the other end, "Sir, our records showed the account was opened in January with your social security number and authorization from your power of attorney. Can you fax me the authorization documents?" "Certainly. What fax number should I use?" An hour later, I was standing at the FedEx store down the street, reading authorization forms with my signature on them. Except, it wasn't my signature. Close enough to fool a busy bank employee, but I'd been signing my name for 58 years. This was a forgery. Someone had been systematically stealing my retirement savings for months, using fake power of attorney documents and a forged signature. And only one person had access to my financial information, my social security number, and examples of my signature, my own daughter. I sat in my truck outside that FedEx store for an hour, staring at those forged documents. My hands were shaking, not from age, from rage. My own daughter had been robbing me blind while playing the caring caregiver. But stealing money was one thing. What happened next made me realize Diana wasn't just a thief. She was trying to kill me. I'd been feeling terrible for weeks. Dizzy spells that came out of nowhere, confusion that made me forget what day it was, sweating episodes that soaked through my shirts. At first, I blamed grief. Losing your wife after 32 years does things to your body, your mind. Everyone said it was normal. Diana certainly reinforced that theory. "Dad, you're not looking good," she'd say during her visits, feeling my forehead like I was a child with a fever. "Are you remembering to take your insulin? Maybe we should increase the dosage. Your blood sugar seems unstable." She'd been preparing my weekly insulin supply for 3 months, filling 7 syringes with what she claimed was my prescribed dosage. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my daughter. She'd researched diabetes management. She was trying to help. But now, sitting in that parking lot with evidence of her theft. In my hands, I started thinking about the timing. The dizzy spells had started in March, right after Margaret's funeral, right when Diana began handling my medication. I drove straight to my doctor's office. Dr. Brady Thompson had been treating my diabetes for 2 years. He was younger than Diana, probably fresh out of residency, but he was thorough and patient with questions. His nurse squeezed me in without an appointment when I explained I was having severe symptoms. "Victor, when did these episodes start?" he asked, reviewing my chart. "About 3 months ago, right after my wife passed away." "I'm sorry for your loss. Grief can definitely affect blood sugar control." He paused. "Are you taking your insulin as prescribed? My daughter's been helping me with injections. She prepares them in advance." Something in Dr. Thompson's expression changed. "She prepares them? That's unusual. Insulin should be drawn fresh each time." She said it was easier, more convenient. Victor, pre-filled syringes can lose potency. But more importantly, who's determining the dosage? Diana researched it online. She said my levels seemed off, that I might need higher doses. Dr. Thompson set down his pen. Victor, I determine insulin dosage based on your blood work and symptoms. No one else should be adjusting your medication, especially not based on internet research. He ordered immediate blood work. The results came back an hour later, and Dr. Thompson's face went white. Victor, your insulin levels are dangerously high. This isn't consistent with your prescribed dosage. Either you're accidentally double dosing, or someone's giving you too much insulin deliberately. How much too much? Enough to cause severe hypoglycemic episodes. Enough to potentially cause coma or death. The room started spinning, not from blood sugar this time, from the realization that my daughter hadn't just been stealing my money. She'd been poisoning me with my own medication. Doctor, there's something else? Diana has power of attorney. She's been managing my finances, and I just discovered she's stolen $350,000 from my accounts. Dr. Thompson stared at me for a long moment. Victor, what you're describing sounds like systematic elder abuse, financial exploitation combined with potential attempted murder. He picked up his phone. I'm calling Detective Martinez. She specializes in these cases. Detective Rosa Martinez arrived at the medical office within an hour. She was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and the kind of direct manner that told you she'd heard every story and seen every scam. She listened to everything: the stolen money, the forged documents, the insulin manipulation, the suspicious timing of my health problems. She took notes in a small pad, asked pointed questions, never seemed surprised by any of it. Mr. Hayes, what you're describing is textbook financial elder abuse with attempted murder, she said finally. Your daughter has been systematically exploiting your trust and vulnerability after your wife's death. Can you prove it? We need evidence. Real evidence, not just your suspicions. Are you willing to help us gather it? I thought about Diana's face when she checked my blood sugar, the concern in her voice when she prepared my insulin, the way she'd positioned herself as my protector after Margaret died. All lies, all manipulation designed to rob and kill me. What do you need me to do? Detective Martinez handed me a small digital recorder, barely bigger than a key fob. This will pick up conversations from across a room. Keep it in your shirt pocket whenever Diana visits. What if she finds it? You're a worried father who bought a recorder because you're afraid you're losing your memory. Play confused. Lean into the grief. She already thinks you're declining mentally. Use that. The plan was simple but terrifying. I'd continue acting like the grieving, confused widower while secretly documenting Diana's crimes. Dr. Thompson would monitor my insulin levels closely, testing each dose before I used it. Detective Martinez would coordinate evidence collection for the eventual arrest. Most importantly, Detective Martinez emphasized, don't confront her directly. Don't let her know you suspect anything. These cases often turn violent when the perpetrator feels trapped. I drove home that afternoon with the recorder in my pocket and a glucose testing kit hidden in my bedroom. Every insulin injection Diana had prepared would be tested before I used it. If the levels were wrong, I'd substitute with a proper dose from a backup supply Dr. Thompson had given me. Diana called that evening. Hi, Dad. I was thinking of stopping by tomorrow to check on you. Maybe bring some groceries, prepare your insulin for the week. I forced my voice to sound tired, defeated. That would be nice, honey. I've been feeling so confused lately. I know, Dad. It's normal after losing Mom. That's why I'm here to help. After hanging up, I spent 2 hours setting up surveillance cameras I'd bought at Best Buy. Nothing fancy, just small wireless cameras that could stream to my phone. I hid one behind a picture frame in the kitchen, another inside a decorative plant in the living room. The angles weren't perfect, but they'd capture Diana's movements around my medication supplies. She arrived the next morning at exactly 10 a.m., letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her months earlier. I watched from my bedroom as she went straight to the kitchen, pulled my insulin pens from the refrigerator, and began preparing syringes. Even from the camera feed, I could see her adding something to each injection. She worked methodically, efficiently, like someone who'd done this many times before. When she finished, she carefully labeled each syringe with days of the week and returned them to the refrigerator. Dad, I've got your insulin ready, she called out. 7 doses, 1 for each day. Don't forget to Take them with breakfast? I shuffled into the kitchen, playing my role. Thank you, sweetheart. I don't know what I'd do without you. Diana hugged me, and for a moment, just a moment, I remembered the little girl who used to climb onto my lap and ask me to fix her broken toys. Then I remembered the forged bank documents in my desk drawer. Dad, there's something we need to discuss, Diana said, settling into Margaret's chair at the kitchen table. I've been looking at your finances, and there are some concerning patterns. I sat across from her, the recorder in my pocket capturing every word. What kind of patterns? Well, you've been making some unusual investments. High-risk stuff, cryptocurrency, foreign markets. I think you might have authorized these during a confused period after Mom died. My blood went cold. She was setting up a narrative, creating a story to explain the missing money, making it seem like I'd been the one making bad financial decisions while grief-stricken and mentally declining. I don't remember authorizing any investments like that. That's what I'm worried about, Dad. Your memory isn't what it used to be. That's why I think we should consider moving your remaining assets into a more secure arrangement. Something I can help you manage? What kind of arrangement? Diana pulled out legal documents from her purse. A joint account. That way, if something happens to you, or if your condition worsens, I can make sure your money is protected. I stared at the papers. More signatures required, more access to my remaining assets. She wasn't just stealing from me. She was positioning herself to inherit everything, while making it look like I'd authorized it during periods of mental confusion. Diana, can I ask you something? Of course, Dad. The life insurance policy. The one your mother insisted we get 5 years ago. You know about that, right? Her face went very still. What about it? It's for $1.2 million. You're the beneficiary. Dad, why? Are you bringing this up? I leaned forward, studying her face. Because I've been thinking. If I died tomorrow, you'd inherit the house, the remaining savings, and $1.2 million in insurance money. That would be enough to solve a lot of problems, wouldn't it? Diana's mask slipped for just a second. I saw something cold and calculating in her eyes, something that had nothing to do with the loving daughter she'd been pretending to be. Dad, you're scaring me. You're talking like you think I want you to die. Do you? The question hung in the air between us. Diana's face went through several expressions: shock, hurt, anger, then something that looked almost like relief. You know, don't you? She said quietly. Know what? About the money, about the insulin. Her voice was different now, flat and emotionless. How long have you known? I pulled out my phone and showed her the security camera footage. Diana's face on the screen, clear as day, tampering with my insulin in the kitchen just an hour earlier. She stared at the video for a few seconds, then looked at me with pure hatred. You set me up. I documented you committing crimes against your own father. Diana stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. You have no idea what you've done. Diana started pacing around my kitchen like a caged animal. Her whole demeanor had changed. The loving daughter act was completely gone, replaced by something cold and desperate. You don't understand, she said, her voice getting higher. I owe people money, serious people, the kind who don't accept excuses or payment plans. How much money? $420,000. I got into cryptocurrency trading, thought I could make quick profits. Then the market crashed. I kept doubling down, trying to recover losses, used credit cards, took loans, borrowed against everything I owned. She stopped pacing and looked at me directly. Then these people started calling, started making threats. Do you know what happens to people who can't pay back? That kind of debt? So you decided to kill your father instead. I didn't want to, the words burst out of her. But you were going to die anyway, Dad. You're old, you have diabetes, heart problems. I was helping speed up the natural timeline. The casual way she said it, helping speed up the natural timeline, made my blood freeze. This was my daughter talking about murdering me like it was a business decision. The insulin wasn't working fast enough, Diana continued, almost talking to herself now. You're tougher than I expected. I kept increasing the doses, but your body kept fighting it off. You were trying to put me into a diabetic coma. It would have looked natural. Elderly diabetic man, recent widow, dies from medication management error. No one would have questioned it. I stared at this stranger who looked like my daughter. What happened to you? Margaret and I raised you better than this. Diana's face twisted with something like pain. You raised me to be middle, class, to be satisfied with average. But I wanted more. I deserved more. So You decided to steal it from your parents. It was going to be mine anyway when you both died. I just needed it sooner. The recorder in my pocket was capturing everything. Diana's confession, her complete lack of remorse, her cold calculation about my death. But I needed more. Diana, there's something I need to know. The power of attorney documents. You forged my signature, didn't you? She laughed, actually laughed. Dad, I've been forging your signature since high school. Remember all those permission slips Mom forgot to sign? I got really good at copying your handwriting. And the fake investment account, Hayes Investment Holdings. Opened it online with your social security number. The bank never verified anything. They just processed the transfers. I felt sick. My own daughter had been planning this for months, maybe years. Every visit, every kind gesture, every moment of apparent concern had been part of an elaborate murder plot. Diana, I have to ask, do you feel anything? Any guilt? Any regret? She considered this seriously, like it was an academic question. I feel sorry it came to this. I wish there had been another way. But I'm not going to jail for debt I can't pay, and I'm not going to let violent people hurt me when there was a solution available. A solution. That's what you call murdering your father. Before Diana could answer, I heard car doors slamming outside. Diana heard it too. Her head snapped toward the front window. You called the police. It wasn't a question. They've been listening to everything. Detective Martinez's voice came from my front porch. Portland Police. Open the door. Diana looked around my kitchen frantically, like she was searching for an escape route. Dad, please, I'm your daughter. You can't do this to me. You did this to yourself when you decided to poison me. The front door opened. I'd given Detective Martinez a spare key earlier. She entered with 2 uniformed officers, weapons drawn, but pointed down. Diana Hayes, you're under arrest for elder abuse, attempted murder, and financial fraud, Detective Martinez announced. Put your hands behind your back. Diana looked at me one last time. Tears were streaming down her face now, but I couldn't tell if they were real or just another manipulation. Dad, I'm sorry. I never wanted it to go this far. Neither did I. They handcuffed Diana and read her rights. As they led her toward the front door, she turned back to me. The people I owe money to. They're not going to just forget about the debt. If I go to prison, they might come after you. Let me worry about that. Dad, I love you. Whatever else you think, I do love you. I watched through my front window as they put my daughter into the back of a police car. Neighbors had come out to stare. The Johnsons from across the street, Mrs. Patterson from next door. Everyone watching as my family fell apart on live television. The trial took 6 months. Diana's public defender tried to argue financial duress, claimed she was being coerced by dangerous creditors. But the evidence was overwhelming. The forged documents, the insulin tampering caught on video, her recorded confession detailing the entire murder plot. She pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence. The judge gave her 15 years in state prison with possibility of parole after 10. During sentencing, he called it one of the most callous betrayals of family trust he'd seen in 20 years on the bench. I recovered most of the stolen money through civil court and restitution orders. Diana had spent some of it, but not as much as she'd claimed. A lot was still sitting in hidden accounts. These days, I'm doing better. I've learned to manage my diabetes independently again, rebuilt my financial security, and I'm slowly learning to trust people again. Not completely, I'll never be that naive again, but enough to function. Diana writes. Letters from prison sometimes. I don't read them. Detective Martinez says it's part of her continued manipulation pattern. Some betrayals are too deep to forgive. When your own child tries to murder you for money, there's no coming back from that. But I'm still here, still fighting. And I've learned something important. Family isn't just about blood. It's about who stands by you when everything falls apart.